In February 2022, the Canadian government did something that had never been done before in a Western democracy. Within 48 hours, without a court order, they froze the bank accounts of over 200 ordinary citizens, truckers, donors, people who gave $20 online. Gone. Account locked, card declined. That was 2022. And what made it possible was a digital financial system already built to track and control every dollar you move. But here is what is really insane. What Canada did was manual, slow, and messy. What is coming next is automatic, instant, and global. It is called a central bank digital currency, a CBDC, and more than 130 countries are building one right now. What I am about to show you is not a conspiracy theory. It is a policy document. It is central bank meeting minutes. It is a 2023 International Monetary Fund working paper. What we are covering today is the quiet architectural shift happening inside the global financial system, one that will determine whether you have true financial privacy for the rest of your life. This is not just history. This is a blueprint being drawn up in real time, by real governments, backed by real technology. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how CBDCs work, who controls them, what they can do to your spending that no cash and no credit card ever could, and why the timing of this rollout is not a coincidence. To understand CBDCs, you need to go back to 1971. That is the year President Nixon ended the gold standard, the last physical anchor tying money to something real. From that moment on, money became essentially a promise, backed by government credibility and computing power. Fast forward to 2008. The global financial crisis did not just crash banks, it shattered public trust in the entire monetary system. Millions of people watched their savings evaporate, while governments bailed out the institutions that caused the damage. And in that exact moment of maximum distrust, something unexpected happened. A pseudonymous programmer named Satoshi Nakamoto published a 9-page paper proposing Bitcoin, a form of currency that no government, no bank, and no central authority could ever control or freeze. Bitcoin was a provocation, and central banks heard it loud and clear. By 2014, the People's Bank of China had quietly launched a research team with one specific mandate: build a state-controlled digital currency before decentralized alternatives could take hold. That team eventually produced the digital yuan, the e-CNY, the first major CBDC ever tested at scale. At the time, most Western economists dismissed it as authoritarian novelty. Then, COVID hit. Suddenly, governments needed to distribute money directly to citizens at speed, and the clunky infrastructure of checks and wire transfers was embarrassingly slow. The digital dollar was suddenly on the table of the United States Federal Reserve. Now, here is where it gets interesting, because this was not just about speed or efficiency. The engineers designing these systems realized they could do something no physical currency had ever allowed. They could program the money itself.
Here is how it actually works. A traditional bank account is essentially a ledger entry. You give the bank money, they note it down, and you trust them to give it back. But the money itself, the dollar, has no instructions built into it. You can spend it on whatever you want, wherever you want, as long as a seller accepts it. That has been true since money was invented. A CBDC changes that at the most fundamental level. It is not just a digital record of your balance. It is a programmable token, a piece of code that can carry conditions. The central bank, your government, can issue a dollar that only works at specific merchants, expires after 30 days, cannot be saved, cannot be sent to certain people, cannot be spent on certain categories of goods. The Bank for International Settlements,
the central bank of central banks, published a paper in 2021 where a senior official casually noted that unlike cash, a CBDC gives authorities, and I am quoting directly here, absolute control over the rules and regulations that determine the use of that currency. He meant it as a feature. Read that again slowly. Absolute control over every transaction in real time. Most people have no idea this is happening because the public debate about CBDCs has been dominated by technical jargon and framed around convenience, faster payments, financial inclusion, fighting tax evasion. These are real goals, but they are also the best possible marketing for the most comprehensive financial surveillance architecture ever designed. But wait, it gets worse, because the programmability is not just theoretical. China's e-CNY has already been tested with expiry dates on stimulus payments to force spending. Nigeria's eNaira forced citizens off cash so aggressively that ATM withdrawals were capped to push adoption. And the European Central Bank's digital euro project explicitly includes the ability to set holding limits, meaning there is a cap on how much digital money you are allowed to own.
The result of universal CBDC adoption would be a world where financial anonymity is mathematically impossible. Every transaction, every cup of coffee, every political donation, every book you buy is recorded, time-stamped, and permanently accessible to whoever runs the ledger. And that is the government. Think that sounds dramatic? Consider the historical record. During the McCarthy era in the United States, the FBI tracked people's magazine subscriptions to build lists of political suspects. In the 1970s, the Nixon administration used IRS audits as a weapon against political opponents. These were not rogue operations. They were systematic uses of financial data as a tool of political control. And those governments did not have anything close to real-time access to every transaction of every citizen. Now consider China in 2023. The social credit system, which ties financial access to behavior scores, is already integrated with digital payment platforms. Citizens with low scores have been blocked from buying plane tickets, from sending their children to private school. Cases have been documented where access to everyday services was suspended based on debt status, linked to digital payment records. And it is not just authoritarian regimes. In 2023, the United Kingdom's Financial Conduct Authority proposed rules that would require banks to flag customers who make unusual cash withdrawals. Canada's Emergencies Act, used to freeze truckers' accounts in 2022, was later ruled unconstitutional. But the infrastructure that made it possible was not dismantled. It is still there. So here is the real takeaway. Every major expansion of government financial surveillance in history has followed the same pattern. It starts with a crisis. It is justified by a legitimate threat. It is implemented with broad public support. And then it never goes away. The surveillance infrastructure built after September 11th to track terrorist financing is still running today. The bank reporting thresholds set in 1970 to catch drug money were quietly lowered in 2021 to catch transactions as small as $600. CBDCs represent the logical endpoint of that 50-year trend. Not because the engineers are malicious, not because every government deploying one is authoritarian, but because the architecture of programmable, centralized, fully surveilled money creates a capability that has never existed before. And capabilities, once created, get used. What most people do not realize is that the critical design decisions are being made right now, in 2025,
in committee rooms and central bank working groups, far from public view. Whether a CBDC is anonymous or traceable, whether it has expiry dates, whether it can be frozen without a court order, these are engineering choices being made before most citizens even know what a CBDC is. By the time the debate reaches the public, the architecture will already be built.
So let me leave you with 3 things to remember. First, CBDCs are not just faster money. They are programmable money. The difference is everything. Programmability means a government can attach conditions to every dollar you own. That has never been possible with any previous form of currency. Second, the critical design choices are happening now, not later. Privacy protections, or their absence, are being baked into CBDC architecture at this very moment. If citizens and legislators do not engage with the technical specifications now, they will inherit a system they cannot change. Third, history is consistent on this point. Financial surveillance infrastructure, built for a good reason, gets used for other reasons. The question is not whether your government is trustworthy today. It is whether you trust every government that will ever have access to this system for the next 100 years. Here is the question I will leave you with. Physical cash is the last form of money that requires no infrastructure, no permission, and no record. When it disappears, and it is disappearing, by about 15% per year in developed economies, what replaces it will define the relationship between citizens and the state for generations. The digital dollar might be inevitable, but who controls it, who can see it, and who can turn it off? Those are choices. And right now, almost nobody is asking. If this video changed how you think about money and privacy, subscribe, because the next video goes even deeper. And make sure you hit the bell so you do not miss it.